Well, welcome to the program. Thank you so much for joining us. And it's been one heck of a season, and for Hawke's Bay, unusual. I mean, you've been wetter than Southland in many of the months, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right, Mark. Everyone's saying they've never seen it this wet before, or if they have, they go back to a year in the 70s or maybe even the 60s. So that's well before my time. But just the length of time that the wet continued. What are we now? We're kind of getting to the end of October, and we've started to dry out quite nicely in the last week. And you've noticed the tractors go mad because all the cropping is, months behind some of that early stuff. So, yeah, we've had good wind, good sunny days now. We still get the odd cold day, so I wouldn't say the pastures are growing that well, but they could be just still suffering from being waterlogged for so long as well. And I know the horticultural trees, the apple trees and things like that, are suffering from just roots being in saturated soil for so long as well.
So I noticed the temperatures in Hawke's Bay this week have been a bit warmer. I mean, you've had a couple into the early 20s, I suppose. Will it bounce back, do you think?
Well, normally we should be bouncing away now, if you like. This is, September, October, are months when Hawke's Bay really takes off. And, as a farmer, I've always backed myself that the springtime, those couple of months are the most reliable. And yeah, even though the sun's out and the soils have dried out somewhat, it's things just aren't bouncing away. So hard to put my finger on why not. But I would say just that constant few months have been waterlogged and soil saturated. Everything's just suffering a bit.
Now, the Regional Council, of which you're a councillor, of course, you've got this Future Farming Trust. Tell us a bit about this.
Yeah, so we were actually just sworn back in yesterday, Mark, for the new triennium post local body elections. So it was actually the council before me. So perhaps around 5 years ago, they allocated the funding, which was the beginning of the creation of the Hawke's Bay Future Farming Trust. And so that was set up probably primarily back then along the lines of dryland farming. As you know, we get our droughts, ironically enough, after just talking about being so wet, but we do get our droughts. And just, what could the council do around helping farmers look at farming better in the dry and alongside the talk of climate change, and East Coast is predicted to get drier. And so just starting to, do a bit of work and research in that area of farming. So that's kind of where it was born from.
And so what's it doing these days? I mean, is it continues, and is it sort of making a difference, if you like?
Yeah. So look, I got onto the council 3 years ago and became the council rep on the trust board. And I would say it's probably primary focus now, and particularly post the emissions tax, which every farmer's talking about in the last couple of weeks, is around the soil carbon. And that's, to me, that's the missing piece in all of the discussion lately, is that the tax and the policy's all been about the emissions coming out of the cow, if you like, and going up into the atmosphere, but nothing about where it's coming from or the carbon cycle and things like that. So the Future Farming Trust is really focused on different land management practices and what effect does that have on soil carbon. Does some decrease, or is it stable, or is there some practices that actually allow soil carbon to increase, which would be fantastic in this policy space, and to go back to the government and with some work and data to prove that.
And so you meet and I mean, do you have researchers, or how do you actually find the answers, as it were?
Yeah, so look, the key to any kind of work is funding. So we're just about to hopefully get one project underway looking at soil carbon under an arable system, if you like, so cropping. That will be funded hopefully by MPI. They've funding quite a few projects across the country now. But there's also good interest from commercial interests around funding in this space as well. So we just need to tap into those, and then just set up projects. So we're really keen to set up another project looking at soil covered under pastoral farming, and getting various partners to kind of join us in those sort of projects and get those underway.
So you're into term 2 as a councillor, and is it good to get underway again? I suppose you're one of the senior players perhaps now.
Yeah, so we've council of 11 councillors this time, 2 new Māori wards. So 6 of us are returning, 5 new, and it's definitely a different feel having 3 years under your belt and kind of knowing how the organisation works and understanding, I guess, the operation and a bit more about how to get things done. But it's you don't always get your ways, in politics, and so. But no, it's a good feeling to have be a returning councillor and kind of more of a feel of hitting the ground running and getting stuck into things, whereas just observing the new councillors now. I remember 3 years ago it was quite overwhelming, very large organisation, a lot of moving parts. A lot of new policy and regulation coming at us from central government, and the expectations from community around improving our rivers and our biodiversity and all of those sort of things. So not as overwhelming this time, just keen to get stuck back into the work.